and you would be my favorite gift. Mistletoe wishes are for you, nobody else on my mind. Family and friends all around me, but my heart is wrapped up inside. All of the gifts and all of the lights won't make me happy tonight. Baby, it's not Christmas without you.
Happy first day of December. So, I told y'all yesterday that I was getting ready for Advent, and this year I'm really looking forward to Advent. Because the last couple of years, I've just kind of passed Advent by, because I didn't have a church home. We've had good Advent experiences in my church. So, but anyway, this year I just felt called back to thinking about Advent. And I follow Hannah Brencher, who I got to know. I don't know her, but I got to know her. I think she was a Yale student many, many years ago, but she's out in the world. She's a published author. She's amazing. And she got started doing The World Needs More Love Letters. And so she would leave love letters around New Haven and places, and people would find them. And it would just be the right thing that somebody would find. So I followed her in doing that. And then when she launched The World Needs More Love Letters and said more love letters, I just started participating in the love letter writing campaigns. But she has since grown into her faith, and it's been a joy to watch. And so I've been following along because we share very similar views on faith in the world and how we see ourselves in God's light. So anyway, I said to y'all yesterday that I would follow along with the Advent. And I have all 25 days. And as she has said, as I said yesterday, Advent usually starts that first Sunday after Thanksgiving. But we're starting a bit early, a couple of days early, only because it's a lot to cover, and she didn't want to have to edit or cut things down. So even though y'all are not with me on the weekends for the next 25 days, however it shakes out, I'll start the show with the reading of Advent. And you don't have to be Christian to listen to this. You can discern whatever you want to discern from it. Yes, it's rooted in Christianity, but it's not rooted in Christianity. You know what I mean? Like, you can take what you need. You know what I used to say? Take what you need and leave the rest by the side of the road for somebody else. So day one, the purpose. And the scripture is Mark 6, 1-6, and John 1, 46. So, and these are Hannah Brencher's words. This is her essays. These are her Advent missives. So it happens the same way every year. The store aisles fill up with garland and lights before Halloween has a fair shot of arriving on the calendar. Glittering ornaments and tubes of wrapping paper take over the shelves. The artificial trees are hauled out from crawl spaces and storage closets earlier than the year before. We begin this dizzying season once again, where we vow to ourselves that this year, yes, this year, we will genuinely savor it. We will be present. We will be unhurried. We will be here, really here, for the Christmas season. And it seems that every year passes by with the same outcome. We hardly stop. We savor in small pockets. We grab at the season, but it passes too quickly. December 26th arrives. We stack the trees by the roadside. We pull out all our new planners and prepare for the next thing on the calendar. We tell ourselves, next year will be the year we get this season right. Next year, we will try again. This is why I wrote an Advent series, Hannah Brencher, a 25-part journey through the story of Jesus' birth. I was tired of walking out of the Christmas season emptier and more tired than I have walked into it. I wanted to stop making empty promises about how I would reclaim the wonder of the season. So I set on a hunt for something more. I dedicated hours upon hours to researching the Christmas story. I dug my heels in deeply, only to discover that everything I thought I knew about this story of a baby in a feeding trough was wrong. It's not the same story I saw in church growing up. It's so much better. There's a story in Mark where Jesus goes back to his hometown to teach and perform miracles. At first, the people in the crowd are impressed with him, but in the next breath, they are cutting him down. They started saying things like, Mary's boy? We've known him since he was a kid. There's no way there's anything special about him. Nothing good ever comes out of Nazareth. The text says that Jesus couldn't do much of anything there. Their lack of belief discounted any miracle in their midst. As Hannah wrote this series, God kept reminding her of this story, of how dangerous it is to be in a space where we think we know everything there is to know about something or someone. We suck away the wonder, the chance for miracles to occur with our stubborn mindsets. I pray that God would restore our wonder. We would have profound moments of thinking, wow, I've never seen that before. That's a miracle. More than anything, I want us to be amazed by this story I'm about to tell, not because I'm writing it, but because God wrote a deeply personal and wildly beautiful story by sending his son to earth for us. It's more layered than you can imagine. There is so much to unpack. There is so much to marvel at. Trust me. If you think you know what you're putting yourself into, God has more in store for you than you can imagine. Throughout the next 25 days, we will be trekking chronologically through the story of Jesus' birth, piece by piece. At times, we will stop, pitch a metaphorical tent, and camp out in parts of the story to get the most profound understanding of the intricate details. Each piece contains a section for scripture to reference and another section called Steal This Prayer. I know praying can be hard sometimes. And when we get nervous about communicating with God, so I wrote a prayer for each day to help us navigate through this. It's there for you to take and make your own. Without further talk, all that's left to do is to propel ourselves straight into the heart of the story. I cannot wait to be your gentle guide through this season. Happy Advent, friend. Grab a cup of coffee and your Bible or whatever sacred scripture you like. It's time to dig. So here's still this prayer. Dear God, would you open my eyes and give me a new way of seeing this story I've heard hundreds of times? Clear out any roadblocks that might stop me from seeing the miracles in front of me. Restore my wonder and help me to savor this season before it's too late. I'm ready to make room for the light. Now, I edited her. She said king. I never like to refer to the Christ as king for various reasons. I don't like to refer to God, as Christ, as king. I like to refer to Christ as the light. So I'm ready to make room for the light. And that's where I am. And this is day one of Advent. I hope you travel along with me. So anyway, that's where we are. Buckle in, pull a Bible out or some sacred scripture. I'm going to write my journal later today about the day because I didn't put my hands on one last night. Of course I didn't, because I went to the theater to see a play. I went to dinner. I went shopping. I shopped local yesterday. I stopped downtown at Idiom, which is celebrating 18 years. It was lovely to see Kim. And then I popped into Dwell, which is celebrating 10 years. And then I popped into the other little soap petty place, which is lovely. Bought some soap in there. And then was downtown for dinner at Harvest, which was lovely. Had a hanger steak. Caught up with Ife and Carla, who works at Rep. And so we all had dinner together. And then we went to see the Salvagers. I will withhold my opinions on Salvagers until way after the play closes, because I don't want to influence people. And that really doesn't stop me anyway. Like, I don't care about influencing people. But I love the production of it. The production, I think, was spot on. Innovative and creative and gorgeous to look at, I thought. Like, I enjoyed that part. But the theme and the tone, it's just, I didn't enjoy it. But that's all right. People should go see it for themselves, and that was last night. And let's see. I usually do a recap by the weekend, but since I was out last night, I thought, well, let me get into it a little bit. let me say safe travels to Ife, and Professor Foreman. They are on their way to Marrakesh, and they're going to stay at Janan Hamsna. And I'm delighted. I had sent Marianne a message yesterday, and she said she had heard from them, and they have worked with the concierge on some planning their trip there. So I'm delighted. So I hope they will love Marrakesh and the mystery and the romance of Marrakesh the way that I did, And Janan Thompson is such a romantic place. It's a place where you want to have a rendezvous or an affair. It lends itself to that kind of atmosphere, in a good way. Like, it's a full-on resort hotel kind of thing, but when you're there, you really feel like you're at your house and you're the only people there. It just gives that vibe, I thought. So I'd be interested in hearing what they say. And I sent Ife some links to find the shops in Marrakesh. Good luck, girl. I couldn't tell you how to get there. Just show them to the concierge, and maybe the driver can figure out where to go. I don't know. the marketplace, and if you've seen like shows on movies and stuff, you can walk down a seemingly unassuming alley and like, I don't see any damn market. And then the next thing you know, you take a corner and you're like, oh my God, bustling with color and sounds and smells. And it's like, Marrakesh is like that. You could just be meandering and it's calm and it's moody. And then the next thing you know, full on hustle bustle, fabric and pots and things and, dates and all kinds of food. And I would invite them to see the night market. I love the night market. We did the electric slide in the night market, child, in front of in the Medina, which just means old city in Arabic. And we did the electric slide in front of the mosque. Not on the grounds of the mosque, in front of the mosque. The mosque was our backdrop. And people just looking at, I know they were like, them damn Americans, them black ass Americans, come over here. And people gathered around us and was watching us do the electric slide. That was on my bucket list. Listen, you got your list, I got mine. And I wanted to do, there was a few things that I definitely wanted to do. I think it was like 4 things. I did everything except one thing. I wanted to electric slide. I wanted to go to the night market, and I did in the Medina, and we did that. And it was hustling and bustling. I mean, it's just a feast of things. I mean, it's just, if you just stay connected to yourself and don't get swept up. So we did that. I wanted to hot air balloon ride over Marrakesh. We did that. I wanted to go to the African Contemporary Museum. I did not do that, but I did go to the Museum of Adornment, where I got my ring, and my friend, my good friend and great love, Ann Mazzaro, bought me the earrings that I wore with my birthday gown. And I bought myself a ring that looked like the plants that grow. It's blue, but it's in the shape, and it's leather. It's in the shape of a plant that grows in Marrakesh. It's very beautiful. And every time I wear it, people are like, "What is that?" It's like, this is the plant that grows in Marrakesh. The plant's not blue. The plant is actually green, but it's just blue leather. It's pretty though. It's pretty ring. So those were the things that I wanted to do. So we did the hot air balloon ride, which was wonderful. I would tell anybody to sort of do it. You really do feel like you're sitting in the hands of God. You're up there. And I tell people it's not like getting on a roller coaster. Like, you're not blowing around. It's not any, you go up, it's very serene. It's very quiet up there. It's very quiet. And it's very peaceful. And it's just like you don't even feel that you're moving. You're just gliding along. It's like, it's just a wonderful feeling. And we had a mother-daughter pilot team. And they're the only mother-daughter pilot team. She's the only woman hot air balloon pilot in all of Morocco. So go figure. And she learned in France. So her daughter has gone to France and is back and forth getting her license to fly hot air balloons. The mother actually worked for the company as an accountant. And then she just felt like, I know so much about these balloons. I think I want to change occupations. And I think she retired from being an accountant and then stepped right into doing this. And she was amazing. And she played music for us. And she let me pull the lever for the heat. The first time she told me to do it, I was scared. I didn't want to do it. I was like, we're not going to go down on my watch, not for me pulling this. But then she coaxed me into it. And it's like, come on. And so I did it. And it was like, whoa. So anyway, it was nice. I'm not doing it again. Trust me. I have no desire to fly over nothing else in a hot air balloon. Listen, for me, it was enough to be on the continent. Now, it is not Senegal. It is not Ghana. It is not Rwanda. It's not anywhere where I feel like I want to be in the heart of Africa, but Morocco is going to have to do. It is on the continent. I was on the continent, and that's good enough. And I've been on a hot air balloon once when I was a kid at the Danbury Fairgrounds, which is now the Danbury Mall. When I was a kid, they used to do, I guess, like the Big E, sort of like, it's like, state fair. And they used to do it at Danbury Fairgrounds. And so we got in a hot air balloon, and you just go straight up and you come back down in a basket. But I was like 16 or something, 16, 7. I mean, I was young. So I wanted to like do it at 60 and be done. And I'm glad I did it. I'm glad my friends rocked with me and went up, and like Lauren was deathly afraid, but she trooped that thing out. I mean, she really did. I mean, she really was afraid, but she pushed past her fears and she got into it. And I appreciate it. I was afraid too, but I never let fear get the best of me on stuff that I really want to do. So I just like, all right, whatever, I'm afraid. Okay, let's do it. So, and that's how it went down. So yeah, so I got to do all the things that I wanted to do. Markeisha and Lauren went to the Contemporary Museum of African Culture, and I didn't get a chance to go because I don't think I was well that day or whatever. I was tired or something. But I did go to the Museum of Adornment, and the Museum of Adornment is all about Africa's gift to the world of jewelry making. Like all jewelry making stem from Africa, from the artisans of Africa. And they clearly show you how that is so, whether it's jewelry makers of Asia, Eastern Europe, indigenous, it all harks back from Africa. And it was wonderful. So yeah, I was just like, all right. I'm good with that. So anyway, so that was the thing. So the trip was, I wanted to stay at Jeanne Thompson. That is one. Hot air balloon, night market, and the Contemporary Museum. Now we went to the gardens of I want to say Yves Saint Laurent. I think who had a house in Marrakesh. Anyway, the house is now a museum, and the gardens are the gardens are the grounds are now a public garden. The house is a public space, and it's beautiful. It's a lot of walking. And I tell you what else is big in Marrakesh: rooftop restaurants. They love a good ass rooftop restaurant. I don't know why that is so, but they love a rooftop and beautiful rooftop. You go up in these spaces and don't look for an elevator because there are none. But rooftop restaurants and bars, perfect. Now, women are not allowed to go into bars proper. They're not allowed to go into bars proper. But if you're in a hotel, you can go to a hotel bar. If you're in a restaurant, you can be at a restaurant bar. But you can't go to a bar. You know, like Cheers. You know how like if Cheers was on the street, you couldn't go into Cheers. But if Cheers was in the Westin, you're free to go in there. So we were in Marrakesh, and Michael Jordan was in Marrakesh too. So we kept crisscrossing wherever he was, you know, because I think people were asking us, were we with them? Like, hell no. Like, all Black people ain't traveling together. I know what you're thinking, but no, we wasn't with Michael Jordan. And let me tell you something. If we were, you'd know about it. Oh, we had a good ass time. So we had a really good time. I'm still thinking about that trip. So anyway, Professor Foreman and his wife are going. I think they leave tonight or something or other. And they will have a good time. And you know, let me tell you something about Marrakesh. It is very affordable. You know, when you get out the airport, you just go change over some money, you know, a little bit of money. You know, I don't know. I must have changed over like $200 or something. And then you can use your ATM card too. I mean, if you let your bank know, I don't know what, you know, like I have to let my bank know when I'm out the country, because, you know, everybody's so sensitive to fraud, and rightly so. I'm not mad about that. Like, be sensitive to it. But you know, we went to the ATM machine, and you know, you could take money out too. So we did that. I didn't even spend all the money that I took out because things are so inexpensive. It's ridiculous. It's almost embarrassing, really, because we're so not used to things being so cheap. You know, like we had one rooftop restaurant for dinner, and we were just popping bottles, and it was like we thought it was going to be like $1,000 or some old mess. It didn't even come close. So we were like, what? Are you sure you got all these bottles? You know, pop bottles and bottles and bottles. And they were like, oh, no, this is what it is. I was like, okay. And then we left a good ass tip. You know, it was good. We had a good time. Lot of good time. So, and at Marrakesh is a place you could wander. I would take a guide. For me, I like having a guide who can speak the language. Now, of course, you know, when you go with a guide, they're going to take you to the places that they people work at and their people know. And, you know, like we went to the pharmacy, you know, going to the pharmacy is a hustle. You know, you go and you buy, you know, they want to show you all the oils and the soaps. You get a whole little conversational talk about, you know, the benefits of this stuff and that. And that was fun. Actually, it was kind of nice after a day of walking around, you know, and all that other kind of stuff. You sit in the pharmacy, they bring you some tea, then they show you all the soaps, and you buy some stuff. Everybody left. I bought lotion, I bought soaps, I bought oils. That lasted me a good while since the trip. I mean, I like Rose soap, so I bought a couple of bars of Rose soap. I bought some lotion that I really, really liked. I should have told Ify to get me some of that damn lotion that I love so much. And then you buy stuff, and then the other folks that we were traveling with, they went to the pharmacia, and then they went to see where rugs were made, and some of them bought rugs. We didn't do that because we were pressed for time. So we told our driver, no, we don't got time to go see the artisans make stuff. So we didn't get that experience. But the other groups, because everybody had their own little groups that they were rocking with, hanging out with, which was fine, which was perfectly fine. And so they went to the place where women were making rugs and stuff. And some of them bought rugs. Eric Clemens bought furniture and it was delivered. I was like, all right. I still haven't seen a picture of it. I haven't seen it. But yeah, he bought a table. He bought a table, a screen. A couple of folks bought rugs, so I didn't buy anything like that. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So I just left it alone. And I just was like, all right. So, and like Markeisha was doing some damn good shopping. And some of them I got like 2 caftans. One from friends who were with me there as birthday presents. So I got 2 caftans, a pair of shoes that that Markeisha brought me for my birthday that I wore with my gown because they were pink. And then I bought a pair off of her, some other ones, these little mules, because they're so cute, thin little mules. So, and they were so inexpensive and they're so pretty. So I was like, all right. So had I had more sense, I would have did way more shopping. So anyway, I'm just saying that to the Foremans that they, buy some stuff. You won't be disappointed. And there's stuff for men to buy too, because Dory brought her husband some stuff, and he was quite pleased. So, you just don't want to be over there and not, because when are you going back? Like, you're not gonna like get up and run over there and go back. So you might as well just get all the things, and not break the bank. And I travel light, right? Like, I don't check bag, I don't check luggage, I don't do any of that. Although I think I'm gonna have to check luggage when I go to Senegal. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm good at packing. I'm very good at that. So anyway, that's Marrakesh, the mystery and magic of Marrakesh. And yeah, we will go back because we really like Marianne. And we saw Marianne this summer because she was on Martha's Vineyard. And I was like, man, if she could open a Janan Thompson and Martha's Vineyard, Lord have mercy. Ooh, that is the best. So anyway, it was a good time. And I happily would happily go back. And I am going back because now I have a place to go. So no, Christine Josie, I'm not going to that. I don't want to go to political stuff. I'm so into it. So anyway, that's where we are. Let me get back into today is December 1st. Can you believe it? It is outrageous. Today is December 1st. I just caught my breath for November, and here we are. And I don't think I have any guests today. And I believe today is World AIDS Day too, if I'm not mistaken. I do have to go to the gym. I'm committed to this gym business. Oh Lord. Yeah, I think today is World AIDS Day. I remember when I worked for AIDS Project New Haven many moons ago. I started in the caring cuisine. I was a volunteer because I was disillusioned. I was working in New York in entertainment public relations. And I just was hating what I was doing. I went there because I was so excited. I wanted to be in the mix, and I wanted to be, I wanted to be like in the crowd and in the mix. And I wanted to be, it with celebrity. I wanted to be all of that. And when I got into it and I was squarely in it, I just could not. I just was so disillusioned by the behavior of celebrity that I was just like, I have to get out of this. And so when I came back to New Haven, after I like walked off this job, I literally just walked off, and I was so disillusioned. I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't have a job to go back to. So I was like, all right. I figured this out. So I started volunteering at Care and Cuisine, which is, you know, a meal delivery program from AIDS Project New Haven for people who were living with HIV and AIDS. And so I just started volunteering. I had a car, and I had just met my husband. And he would just let me use his car for volunteers. Then he bought me a car. And we got married. So he bought me a car. So I just stayed volunteering, delivering meals to people with HIV and AIDS. And it was so eye-opening how in those days people were living with HIV and AIDS, and they were sick, and they didn't want people to know, because landlords would start harassing people and want to get them evicted. If people's jobs found out they had HIV or AIDS, they would get fired. I mean, these were the days. Like, this wasn't 1950, you know. This was like 1990, right? Like, this is 1988, 1989, 90, 91, 92. Like, it was like that. And it was and it just gave me a sense of purpose, because I just couldn't stand that people were being treated so badly, and where people were living in these apartments that were not legal apartments. You know, people were living in spaces that were not legal. And you'd go in there and you're like, oh my God. And these people are sick, right? Folks are sick. And sometimes I'd be the only person they've seen for days. You know, I'd bring them enough food for the weekend, right? You know, like I think I would do deliveries like Thursday, and they'd have enough food to get them to Monday until we, you know, come back around and deliver again. And, you know, we had instructions on how they could heat up their food. And, you know, we made sure we had stuff that probably didn't require a whole lot of, you know, messing with. And sometimes I'd be the only human being that they seen all week, you know. And so I would just, you know, I check in on people, how they doing. Is there anything else I could do? You know, can I call somebody? You know, what is happening? Do you need me to talk to somebody for you? Or, I mean, I just got involved. That's just the nature. That's just my nature. You know, I think I inherited that from my mom. I know I inherited it from my mother. My mother never knew strangers. And I think I'm that way too. I just don't know strangers. I just think I don't know strangers. You know, and my mother was very much like that. Like, no one was a stranger. And I used to get annoyed. I'd be like, you don't know them damn people. And here I am, same way. Same way. I don't know these people. It doesn't matter. My humanity knows them. And so they hired me to be the associate manager of the Care and Cuisine. I have a culinary background, so I know how to run a kitchen. I know my way around a kitchen, and I know food preparation protocols, right? Because we were working out of the church over there on State Street, which is now surrounded by all those ridiculous apartments on State Street. And so we had raised some money. We put in a commercial kitchen in the bottom of the church basement, because they had space down there and they let us do it. And we ran Care and Cuisine. I don't even know where Care and Cuisine is ran out of. I don't even know if it's still up and running. And so we would run meals out of there. And so I just started coordinating volunteers, because I had volunteer background. Like, I knew how to, I did youth at risk stuff. So I know how to recruit, train, screen volunteers, background checks, work with the police department on doing background checks, finding money to pay for background checks for volunteers, training volunteers, ongoing training volunteers, that kind of stuff. And it was purposeful to me, and I enjoyed it. I just felt like I was called to it, and it's just something I just enjoyed doing. And then asked me if I wanted to revamp the whole volunteer program, because they had volunteers, but they weren't coordinated, and they had a lot of programs that would just pop up and people would just jump in and volunteer. Well, when you're working with a vulnerable population, any population, you have to put some protocols in place so people don't do harm or people don't get harmed. So I just came in and just like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna train people, we're gonna recruit, we're gonna do all these things, so that we reduce any incidents of harm. Because some people are predatory, and they would get into these organizations so that they could have access to a particular population of people so they could do harm. That's why we have volunteer protocols to this day, because people are mean and unconscionable. And so that went well. And then so I was doing that for a good while until my friend Ron was like, you need to get into this fellowship program, Urban Fellows, National Urban Rural Fellows. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And so I put it off another year, and then I finally applied and I got in. And so I left AIDS Project New Haven to go to grad school, and got my master's at Baruch under the National Urban Fellows Program, which was wonderful, because I wouldn't have been able, and they gave me a stipend. A fellowship is a nice thing if you could get it. I mean, it was nice because I was married, and my husband was considering going to grad school. He was working on his undergraduate degree at Albertus. He had already gotten his associates, and he was working on his bachelor's. And I knew he wanted to go to grad school, and I knew that both of us could not be in grad school trying to pay for grad school and maintain a mortgage and all the cars and whatever. And this was before we even started to build a family. So it was a great plus that I got to go to grad school first and on a fellowship, with a fellowship. And it was such a wonderful experience. It was David Dinkins, former Mayor Dinkins, was one of my professors. And it was just a wonderful experience to go to school in New York, to go to grad school in New York. It was amazing. And I got to work in the medical assistance program under one of the deputy commissioners, and I was tasked with figuring out the barriers to the medical assistance program, which is essentially an entitlement program where people who didn't have insurance could get insurance, could be seen. It's the precursor to what we have now. I think it was the precursor to Obamacare, really. But New York was unwittingly or deliberately, I think in my capstone, in my dissertation, I think I made the case that they were deliberately shutting people out, creating barriers so people would look elsewhere for healthcare, and by look other places, people just wouldn't bother, and they were doing all manner of stuff, and the stuff that I was finding, and this is the craziest part. I don't think they would ever allow this again, but I had complete autonomy to go into all the offices, and I was in all 5 boroughs. I would spend time in all 5 boroughs. And I don't think anybody would allow this kind of autonomy and access. I had ID, and I reported directly to Giuliani. And I saw him maybe, I don't know, a handful of times. I actually reported to a couple of women in the medical assistance program who reported to him directly, but they would let me go talk to him directly, because they'd be like, you go talk to him, take little reports and go. And so I'd be in the meetings, and I'd be like, all right, this is what I found out. And they were annoyed, because they didn't want this to become a press thing, that they had all these barriers. Swear to God. So anyway, they used my capstone as a way to shift policy on how they handled entitlement, healthcare entitlements for the city of New York. And they wanted me to come, when I graduated, they recruited me to come and run the program, like pilot a new program to oversee this kind of stuff. But New York City has a rule. You have to live in New York City to work in city government. And, we were living in City Point. My then husband was like, we can't maintain 2 households. And for a minute we were considering it, because we went into the city. We went into Harlem. We looked at a couple of brownstones that were for sale. They had somebody from the mayor's office sent me a program for they was trying to, this revitalization of Harlem, parts of Harlem. And so they sent so they had this program where you buy this brownstone and you could get money to renovate it, and we were so green, my then husband and I, we were so green. So we went to see these brownstones, child. In our minds, we're thinking, oh, we're gonna get something. We go, girl, listen, folks, we get down there and these things are burnt out. This was before HGTV. This was before Fixer Upper. This was before any kind of, oh, look what you can do with sweat equity. And I came from a vocational background. So I'm no stranger to stuff, right? Like tech stuff and building and stuff like that. I came from a vocational technical high school. So I went to school with plumbers and carpenters and electricians and all manner of stuff, because they'd be working on houses and projects and stuff. And we just could not grasp a vision for a brownstone that was just so burnt out. And we were like, I don't think we could take this on. And they was throwing like $500,000 at us, at anybody who would take this on. And don't you know, many years after that, we went back into that same neighborhood, and now those brownstones are going for like $2 and $3 million. And here's the thing. So if you would have gotten one, you would have gotten the loan or whatever it was. It was a grant. It would have been forgiving. Like, you wouldn't have to pay it back. They would have given you like $500,000, like some ridiculous amount of money to do the rent. You would have had to like take the $500,000 and then put another like $250,000 in. So you would get a mortgage for like $250,000, that kind of thing. And we just thought that was just overwhelming. We're like, $250,000. Well, listen, it's only $250,000. I paid about that for my house on Bellevue by my damn self. So I was like, oh. So we laugh about that every now and again when I talk to him. We're like, remember we looked at those brownstones? We were like, we couldn't see it. And we go down that neighborhood now, and these brownstones are $3, $4, $5 million. It's just the craziest thing. But we had no knowledge or no point of reference. So anyway, when I left AIDS Project New Haven, I spent my time at in New York in grad school, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. And I thought I would live in New York. But that rule, we just couldn't break that. We just couldn't break that rule. And they wasn't gonna let me break that rule. So we were like, well, maybe we get a little tiny closet of an apartment, and that would suffice, and we could keep our house in New Haven. That's what people do. But then we just thought that would be a heavy lift, and so we didn't do it. So when I graduated, I came back to Connecticut, and Bill Dyson got me a job at the Connecticut Commission on National Service. They were piloting a AmeriCorps program, a AmeriCorps oversight program, in response to Colin Powell's and George W. Bush's commitment to what children need and mentorship. And mentorship was a whole big thing. And so General Colin Powell is asking every state to commit to providing oversight to mentoring programs, and the way to do that was through the AmeriCorps program. And at that time, Connecticut was flushed with the AmeriCorps programs, the Jumpstart for Young Children, which I left the Connecticut Commission to run in New Haven. And LEAP was an AmeriCorps program. So we were all starting out at the same time, me and Henry Fernandez. And for a minute there, me and Henry Fernandez, our lives were very parallel. Like, we were neck and neck. And our lives were just crisscrossing all the time. Before he was married, we were just, we would meet up and talk and strategize. And I mean, we were just like friends, and you know, he's an attorney. Um, he graduated from law school, and here I am trying to go to law school. So our lives are still sort of intersecting with each other. So yeah, so I was in Hartford working on the on AmeriCorps oversight programs, and I enjoyed that. I got to inventory and I got to spearhead the Connecticut State Employees Mentorship Programs. So what it was, and it is legislation that said, and it got passed, that said for every week of, for every couple of hours, however so many 40 hours of volunteer time that Connecticut employees got, they'd get a week vacation on, you know, for their time. And I think we're like the only ones in the country to do it. So I got to go around the country talking about this in different places, you know, like how we did it and stuff like that. I got to produce a PSA for it. So I had a good time. It only lasted a year. I think it lasted a year because the woman that was running the program, who was the executive director of the Commission on National Community Service, she was one of these white women that just was unsure of her skill set and ability, so that anybody that came within 100 feet of her that had talent, she would do her best to undo them. And so I was naive in those days. I just didn't believe anybody was like carrying on that way until I overheard her. She didn't know I was in the office. I overheard her talking about me. I was so wounded. I was so wounded. She was like, oh, you know, if she thinks she's gonna come in here and blah blah. I mean, she was talking cash-ish about me. And I overheard her. And she didn't even know I was like in the space to overhear her, you know. She was just a piece of work. She was just that was my first encounter with a white woman who was treacherous, deliberately treacherous. And I just didn't know how to handle it. And I was just so emotional, and you know, I couldn't figure I did not have the skill set to sort of battle this intellectually, because I have a strong mind. I had a fine mind. It just wasn't cultivated, you know, and I didn't have any mentors. But best you believe, right after that, I got some folks, and they were like, "Come here, let me mentor you up." And so I had some people who, you know, like Tony Harp was one of those people that mentored me up. I mean, there was a lot of people who had their hands on me. B. Dozier Taylor, like people really helped framed how I could be in the world and be unafraid and be bold and not be afraid to speak up. And that was those was good moments. And I never had anybody to treat me that way ever again. And some have tried it, but I was prepared. You know, I was just prepared. And it was a little I mean, no, I had one other white woman who tried to do me in too when I was at AIDS Project New Haven. And you know, full circle moment, when I came back from Danbury, I had gotten a scholarship to the School of Spirituality at the Mercy Center. I had gotten it before I went to Danbury, but I couldn't go because I had to go to Danbury. And so when I got out, they extended the scholarship. And then the woman that I was at odds with at AIDS Project New Haven, she was in the program. And let me tell you, we were contentious when we were at AIDS Project New Haven. By the time we finished the School of Spirituality, we were friends, and it was a very full circle moment. And you know, and I think this is an appropriate time to sort of say that God, in His infinite, in her, in their infinite wisdom, just had opportunities for me to go back and fix some things. And there are a great many moments of epiphany and great many moments of turn back around for me in my life, and that was one of them. And I can plot chart all those moments where I got to go back and either make things right with people or end things with people or close things with people. And that has been really, the mark of noticing where God is in your life. So anyway, yeah, that's my World AIDS Day, long-winded around the world story. And when I come back from break, I'm gonna give you some stats on World AIDS Day and where we are, because people think out of sight, out of mind, that somehow or other AIDS is no longer with us, but it pretty much is. It's still pretty much, it's 35 years since the HIV/AIDS epidemic. 35 years. And it's still very much with us. People are living longer. It is no longer the death sentence that it was when it first came on the scene. It is no longer a gay white man's disease. It really is a people of color disease, although it is starting to numbers are starting to rise in the gay community. And so we have to remind people that there's still safety protocols in place so that you can live longer. But there are medications that are pretty much eradicating HIV out of people's systems, getting numbers so low that it is almost undetectable. So we've come a long way. We've come a long, long way. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when I come back from taking a little bit of a break. So I'll be back.
If your home was built before 1978, your paint or even the soil around your home could contain lead. Lead paint can harm young children, affecting their kidneys and brain, slowing a child's growth and making learning difficult. But lead poisoning is 100% preventable. We have funding to keep you and your family safe. To learn more about our program, visit nhbhealth.org. Together, New Haven, we can get the lead out.
Hi, this is Babz Rawls-Ivy from New Haven, Connecticut, and you're listening to WNHB